Welcome back, my great and very important viewers, and thank you for joining today's deep and exciting journey into the world of rare, valuable, and unbelievably extraordinary coins, where one small piece of metal can rise far beyond its humble face value and capture the imagination of collectors from every corner of the world. Today we are diving into the incredible story of the Liberty 1 cent 1981 D Lincoln penny, a coin that many people overlook every single day, never realizing that in certain special and extremely rare cases, this tiny 1 cent piece can become something unimaginable, something so valuable that it shocks even the most experienced collectors. We are talking about the unbelievable possibility of this coin reaching a value so extreme, so astounding, and so far beyond its face value that it can be spoken of in terms like 776,000 million, a number that sounds like it belongs to the tallest skyscrapers of finance rather than a small copper-coated coin. But as every treasure hunter and collector knows, the real value of a coin is not in its size, not in its color, not even in how many millions were made, but in the rare mistakes, the tiny details, the unexpected errors, and the unique features that transform an ordinary object into something legendary. When we begin to explore the 1981 D Lincoln penny, we step into a world filled with mystery, history, minting technology, unexpected variations, and the thrilling possibility that a coin, discovered in pocket change, an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or an inherited collection could be the doorway to a life-changing discovery. This year, 1981, stands on the edge of a transformation in U.S. coin history. It is one of the last years when the United States produced the classic bronze Lincoln cents before fully transitioning to the copper-plated zinc pennies in 1982. Because of this historical moment, 1981 coins carry a special place in collector discussions. The Denver Mint, known for its distinctive D Mint mark and often sharp, bold strike quality, produced hundreds of millions of pennies that year. But among these countless coins, a few could carry the traces of something unusual, something unintended, something that never should have left the mint, and it is these coins that collectors seek with an intensity that grows each year. To understand why a 1981 D penny could ever be imagined as extraordinarily valuable, one has to appreciate the world of mint errors and the way tiny imperfections, accidental variations, and manufacturing mishaps can turn a simple mass-produced object into a priceless rarity. Mint errors are not random decorations. They are snapshots of moments in the minting process where the machinery, the dies, the planchets, or the alignment slipped out of perfection, even if for only a fraction of a second. These errors can be so rare that only a handful exist, and sometimes even a single one. In such cases, collectors around the world are willing to compete, bid, and push the price into astronomical ranges. Not because the copper is special, not because the coin is inherently precious, but because rarity, uniqueness, and history create a value that cannot be manufactured intentionally. When looking at the 1981 D penny, we explore all the possibilities that might make such a coin beyond extraordinary. One of the most dramatic types of errors that collectors dream of finding in this year is a transitional planchet error. Since 1982 marked the shift from mostly copper coins to zinc-based cores, any coin from 1981 that was accidentally struck on an experimental planchet, or a wrong-year planchet, or a leftover metal type, would be a staggering rarity. Imagine a penny from 1981 being struck on a zinc-core planchet a year early, or on a foreign planchet that somehow slipped into the mint's production. Such an error today would be considered a once-in-a-generation discovery. The incredible value comes from the fact that these kinds of errors are not just rare, they are historically significant, linking the coin to the very evolution of U.S. monetary manufacturing. Another possibility that turns a coin into a priceless treasure is a major doubled die error. A dramatic doubled image on the date, the Liberty text, the motto, or even Lincoln's portrait can create a visual effect so striking that collectors immediately know they are witnessing an error of exceptional importance. A strong double die on a 1981 D penny would be considered monumental, because most double dies from that period are faint, minor, or difficult to detect. A bold, eye-catching double die in this year would be an error that goes far beyond ordinary collecting. It would be something that auction houses would advertise as a headline piece, something that collectors would speak about for decades, something that would instantly raise the coin from a cent to a multi-million-dollar marvel. We also look at the fascinating world of off-center strikes. When a coin is struck significantly off the center, revealing a crescent-shaped blank area while still preserving the date and the mint mark, collectors go into a frenzy. The presence of the mint mark and date is absolutely crucial because it allows the coin to be verified, authenticated, and catalogued. A dramatic off-center 1981 penny with a clear date and mint mark could easily become a centerpiece in any era collection. Combine this with additional errors such as a double strike, a broad strike, or being struck on a defective planchet, and suddenly you have a coin with a perfect storm of rarity. Even minor examples of these errors sell for surprising premiums, but an extreme example could push value into uncharted territory. Clipped planchet errors present another intriguing scenario. A cleanly clipped portion of the coin, whether curved, straight, or ragged, becomes visible evidence of the moment the metal blank sheet was punched improperly. These clips can be subtle or dramatic, and collectors especially value those that show the Blakesley effect, a diagnostic feature that confirms authenticity. In the case of a 1981 penny, a large, well-defined clip with full identifying details could create a spectacular rarity. Then there are coins struck through foreign material, such as grease, cloth fibers, or even small debris that accidentally entered the coining chamber. These types of errors lead to missing details, smooth patches, unexplained dents, or unusual textures. While many of these errors are small, a dramatic strike-through can create a visual appearance so unusual that it becomes instantly unforgettable. Imagine a 1981 penny where part of Lincoln's face is missing due to a heavy grease strike-through, or where the motto is ghostly faint. These coins are unique, literally one of a kind in most cases, and collectors can pay unbelievable premiums for truly dramatic examples. An even more astonishing possibility would be a mule error, where the 1981 penny was accidentally struck using a die intended for a different denomination. Mule coins are among the rarest and most fascinating mint errors in the history of American coinage. They occur when the obverse die and reverse die do not belong together. If a mule involving a 1981 penny existed, it would immediately become one of the most valuable coins ever discovered in U.S. history. Mule coins are extremely rare, with only a handful known across all years and denominations, and their value often reaches levels that dwarf even classic rarities. Of course, the Denver Mint itself has its own personality. The quality of striking, the way dies wear, and the speed of production leave behind subtle traces that collectors study deeply. In some cases, repunched mint mark varieties emerge. These are known as RPMs. Before the era when mint marks were included directly on the main die, they were hand-punched. This process could lead to doubled stamping, slightly shifted positions, or visible traces of repunching. RPM varieties from the early 1980s are admired by specialists. A dramatic RPM on a 1981 penny, especially one where the D is clearly doubled or shows misalignment, could become a significant collectible, and the more dramatic the effect, the higher the potential value. Another important factor in all discussions about improbable yet fascinating valuations is the condition of the coin. A flawless, perfect, high-grade mint-state example of a 1981 penny, with original luster, full sharpness, and no wear, can already command interest from collectors. But imagine combining mint-state perfection with a dramatic error. A coin like that becomes more than a curiosity. It becomes a once-in-history piece worthy of museum attention. And in the world of coin collecting, when a piece is the finest known, or the only known, or the most dramatic known, that is when prices reach levels that seem unbelievable. Auctions have repeatedly shown that collectors are willing to push far beyond conventional limits when competing for a piece that stands alone above all others. The story of the 1981 penny also takes us deeper into the world of mint machinery, planchet feeding, die alignment, and the way small shifts, vibrations, or unnoticed mechanical changes during high-speed production can lead to unexpected outcomes. A die crack, for example, forms when the die begins to weaken. These cracks can be small lines on the coin, sometimes branching like lightning bolts, sometimes forming dramatic shapes across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse design. My dear coin collectors, now we explore one of the most fascinating chapters in American coin history, a story that blends mystery, rarity, unexpected value, and the thrilling chase for hidden treasures that might be sitting unnoticed in drawers, jars, old wallets, dusty boxes, or tucked away in a family collection that hasn't been opened for years. We turn our attention to the captivating world of the Liberty 1-cent 1982 Lincoln penny, a coin that may appear simple at first glance, a coin that millions of people have handled without a second thought, yet within this year and within certain unique variations and rare errors lies the possibility of a value so extraordinary that it stretches the imagination, leading to discussions of a piece worth $774,000 million, a figure that sounds like fantasy at first but becomes a symbol of what extreme rarity and extreme collector desire can create when a single coin rises far beyond what anyone ever expected. This journey begins with a warm welcome to everyone who loves rare coins, everyone curious about the secrets hidden in everyday change, and everyone who finds excitement in the stories behind objects that look ordinary yet carry extraordinary potential. The 1982 Lincoln cent is one of the most complex, fascinating, and important coins in modern U.S. history. It was the year of a major transformation, a year that saw the end of a long era of mostly copper pennies and the beginning of a new era of zinc-based cents coated in copper. This change was due to rising copper prices, budget considerations, minting cost adjustments, and the evolving needs of American coin production. The result is that 1982 became one of the only years in U.S. history with multiple different varieties of pennies issued in the same year, including copper and zinc types, large date and small date styles, and differences between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. This combination created one of the richest fields for collectors to explore. Every variety, every weight difference, every date style, every mint mark, and every possible mint error suddenly becomes a doorway to rare value. And because errors often occur during transitional years where equipment shifts, metal compositions overlap, and production processes adjust, 1982 is known as a year full of possibilities for unusual mistakes. Even the smallest unexpected anomaly on a 1982 cent could turn a simple coin into a highly valuable rarity. Now imagine this in the context of extreme rarity, extreme desirability, and incredible error potential. Imagine a unique combination of errors so dramatic, so unprecedented, and so unmistakable that collectors would battle in auction rooms pushing bids into unbelievable levels. This is where the idea of the 1982 penny reaching $774,000 million becomes a symbolic representation of the ultimate rare coin scenario, the kind of unimaginable discovery that coin enthusiasts dream about, especially during transitional years where mistakes were more likely to occur. We begin by exploring the unique nature of 1982. For the first time, the United States Mint made a major material shift in the Lincoln cent. Before 1982, pennies were composed mostly of copper, approximately 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. But in 1982, due to rising metal prices, the mint gradually transitioned to using a zinc core coin with a thin layer of copper plating. This change meant that during the year, the mint produced both copper and zinc cents. They look identical at first glance, but their weights are different. Copper cents weigh 3.11 grams. Zinc cents weigh 2.5 grams. For collectors, this difference became a key identifier, a clue that something rare could emerge when a coin was struck on the wrong metal planchet, or when a planchet was accidentally mixed from the wrong batch, or when a transitional mistake occurred. One of the greatest dreams for collectors is finding a coin struck on the wrong planchet. This means a copper planchet used at the wrong time, or a zinc planchet used too early, or even something more dramatic, like a penny struck on a foreign coin blank or a leftover planchet intended for another denomination. Transitional years always produce opportunities for such errors, because the mint is handling multiple planchet types in overlapping schedules. The potential for a 1982 penny struck on the wrong metal is one of the most exciting possibilities in numismatics. Mint errors in 1982 extend far beyond planchet composition. There are also large date and small date varieties. The shape of the numerals and the date differs between these styles. Collectors hunt for these distinctions because some combinations are significantly rarer than others, especially when combined with the metal composition differences. So a 1982 copper small date is different from a 1982 copper large date, and both are different from a 1982 zinc large date or zinc small date. Each combination has its own rarity profile. Now imagine the possibility of a mixture so rare, so unexpected, and so dramatic that it becomes a one-in-a-lifetime coin. A 1982 penny accidentally struck in the exact opposite metal of its intended variety would be a monumental discovery. Adding complexity to this year is the potential for double dies, repunched mint marks, and die deterioration. A strong double die on a transitional year coin becomes instantly important. Dramatic doubling on the date, the word liberty, in God we trust, or the reverse lettering would turn a 1982 penny into an elite rarity. If that double die coincides with an unusual weight or metal composition, the value skyrockets. If it coincides with multiple errors, such as an off-center strike or a broad strike, then you enter the realm of unprecedented rarity. Collectors also look for off-center strikes, especially those where the date remains visible. An off-center error where the design is significantly shifted creates a visually stunning and highly collectible rarity. Imagine a 1982 penny that is 50% off-center but still shows the date clearly. Combine that with a rare metal composition error, and you have a coin that would be the centerpiece of any collection. If such a coin were the only one known, bidding wars could escalate to unimaginable levels. Clipped planchet errors are another fascinating possibility. These happen when the blank metal sheet is mispunched, resulting in a penny with a missing curved section, or even multiple clips. Minor clips exist on many dates, but large dramatic clips are rare and desirable. On a transitional year coin like the 1982 penny, a large clip combined with other unusual features could create an extraordinary rarity. A double or triple clip 1982 penny struck on the wrong metal would be beyond extraordinary. There is also the possibility of a coin struck through foreign material. This occurs when grease, cloth fibers, small chips of metal, or other debris accidentally block part of the die during the striking process. The result is a coin with unusual textures, missing letters, or ghost-like impressions. While many strike-through errors are mild, a dramatic strike-through can create a coin so visually bizarre that it becomes a unique collectible. Collectors value these errors because no two are identical. Each strike-through is a fingerprint of a moment inside the minting machinery. When you combine a dramatic strike-through with rare metal composition, you create a coin that stands alone in the world. Another extraordinary possibility is a brockage error. A brockage occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to the die and transfers its reversed image onto the next coin. This leads to coins with one normal side and one distorted mirror image side. A 1982 brockage penny would already be valuable, but if such a coin were also struck on the wrong metal, struck off-center, or part of a rare date style, then the value could escalate beyond what anyone expects. The Denver mint mark also plays a role. For 1982 D pennies, repunched mint marks become a possibility. Before mint marks were part of the master die, they were hand-punched onto each working die. This process created opportunities for slight misalignments, double punching, shifted positions, or visible overlapping impressions. A dramatic repunched D mint mark on a 1982 cent, especially a rare variety, could become a key discovery. Another important aspect of evaluating extraordinary rarity is the condition of the coin. Even without errors, the finest known example of a common coin can achieve high auction prices. But when a coin combines high grade with dramatic errors, transitional metal compositions, or unique features, the value becomes unpredictable. A perfect mint state 1982 penny with flawless luster, untouched surfaces, and a dramatic, visible error becomes not just rare, it becomes a numismatic spectacle. Now imagine a coin from 1982 with multiple extreme errors layered together. A coin struck on the wrong metal. A coin with a double die. A coin with an off-center strike. A coin with a dramatic mint mark anomaly. A coin with a die crack or cud. A coin with a bold strike through. A coin that is the only known example of its type. My great history lovers, now we go to an exciting deep dive into the hidden world of rare American coins, A world where the smallest piece of change can transform into something unbelievably valuable, where everyday pennies that millions of people pass through their hands without thinking might hold secrets, errors, and mysteries capable of turning a simple copper-colored coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Now we journey straight into one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics, the incredible exploration of the 1-cent Liberty 1982 D Lincoln penny, a coin that appears common on the surface yet carries one of the most complex histories of any penny ever minted, a coin with so many varieties, so many minting transitions, so many possible errors, so many potential misstrikes, and so many strange opportunities for extraordinary rarity that collectors keep searching year after year, hoping to discover the single example that breaks all expectations and rises to the unbelievable level of 773,000 million in theoretical collector value based on extreme rarity, unparalleled uniqueness, and combinations of mistakes that could exist but have not yet been found out. As we begin this journey, I welcome every viewer who loves rare coins, every new collector curious about the possibilities, every longtime numismatist who understands the mysteries that can emerge from transitional minting years, and everyone fascinated by the idea that something tiny, something ordinary, something found sitting in a dusty jar of old coins or resting ignored in a drawer could actually be an extraordinary treasure. The 1982 D penny is famous in the coin community for one simple reason. It was minted during one of the most dramatic shifts in the history of the Lincoln cent. Before 1982, pennies were mostly copper. After 1982, pennies became mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. But 1982 itself was an overlapping year, a year of experimentation, adjustment, and transition. This means both copper and zinc cents were produced, both large date and small date designs were used, both Philadelphia and Denver varieties were created, and both old and new production equipment worked side by side. Every transition introduces opportunities for mistakes, and mistakes create rarity, and rarity creates value. Now, when people imagine rarity, they often think of a limited mintage number or a special commemorative release, but the real value in transitional years like 1982 comes from errors, especially the kind of errors that are not planned, not repeated, and not documented. The Denver Mint in particular was operating at high speed, producing massive numbers of pennies, all while adjusting to new metal compositions, new planchet weights, and new mechanical settings. Whenever machinery adjusts to new metal hardness, new metal thickness, and new striking pressure, the potential for misalignment, misfeeds, wrong planchets, die cracks, and other surprising mistakes grows significantly. This means the 1982 D penny is a breeding ground for possible rare errors that nobody has yet found. But before diving deep into the errors, we must understand why 1982 D is so important. Denver is the only mint in 1982 that produced the famous transitional error in which a zinc planchet and a copper planchet might have been mixed accidentally. The well-known Holy Grail example, the 1982 D small date copper cent, shocked the world when discovered because experts believed Denver never minted any copper small date cents. The discovery proved that mistakes did occur. It also proved that the mint was handling multiple metals at once, and whenever that happens, the door opens to unimaginable possibilities. The world now understands that there could easily be other unknown errors from 1982 D still waiting to be discovered. Now imagine the full spectrum of possible mistakes that could raise the value of an ordinary 1982 D penny far beyond its face value. Imagine a strike on the wrong metal, a strike with a wrong die pairing, a rare off-center strike with the full date still visible, a dramatic double die, a repunched mint mark, a die clash, a struck-through piece of metal or cloth, a broad strike, a major die break producing a raised cud, or even a blockage error that leaves a reverse mirror image on one of the sides. Every one of these errors has the potential to turn a penny worth 1 cent into something valuable. But when multiple errors combine into a single coin, that value can skyrocket. Imagine a 1982 D penny struck on a copper planchet when it was supposed to be struck on zinc, but not just any copper planchet, the wrong composition, the wrong weight, or even the wrong thickness. Imagine, for example, that a stray blank intended for a foreign coin or another denomination entered the cent press. Transitional years sometimes create unexpected cross-metal mistakes. If even one stray planchet of a different alloy slipped through the machinery, a 1982 penny could have been struck on a blank unlike any other ever made. If a single coin like that ever surfaced, it would instantly gain legendary status. This is where extreme valuations come from, where coins cross into the territory of breathtaking figures like 773,000 million in theoretical auction frenzy, because collectors and institutions would battle intensely for the only known example of such an error. But planchet mistakes are only one path to rarity. Variety differences also play a huge role in 1982. Both large date and small date designs were used. The shape of the numerals in the date differs subtly between these varieties. The large date has a taller, bolder numerals arrangement, while the small date features a thinner and more delicate style. Most collectors can recognize the differences once taught, but only experts know how rare certain combinations are, especially when paired with the metal composition. A copper small date is different from a copper large date, and a zinc small date is different from a zinc large date. For Denver, the rarest is the small date copper. When this type was discovered, it shocked the community, proving that the minting system allowed errors nobody thought were possible. This means there could be more unknown combinations hiding somewhere, maybe combinations nobody has yet seen, maybe combinations that exist in only a single coin. That is where extreme valuations come from. Because the difference between a rare coin and a life-changing coin is uniqueness. One example makes history. One example becomes legendary. One example becomes priceless. The 1982 mint has the perfect environment for such uniqueness. Die errors also contribute to the fascination of the 1982 penny. Doubling on the date, on the word liberty, or on In God We Trust is especially desirable. A dramatic doubled die on a transitional year coin becomes an automatic key rarity. If a double die occurred during a time when new equipment was being tested or adjusted, the doubling could be more dramatic, more unusual, or more extreme than typical doubling from other years. Imagine a 1982 penny with strong doubling on multiple elements, combined with a rare metal composition, combined with an unusual date variety, combined with a mint mark anomaly. That would be the kind of coin collectors spend their entire lives dreaming of finding. Speaking of mint marks, 1982 has another special feature. The Denver mint mark was punched into working dies individually. That means repunched mint marks are possible. A repunch D happens when the mint mark is struck into the die twice, creating overlapping images. Some repunches are dramatic, showing a clear shadow or secondary D underneath or beside the primary mark. Some are subtle. A dramatic repunch D on a rare 1982 variety would elevate its value exponentially. Now imagine that repunched mint mark combined with a double die, combined with a wrong planchet strike, combined with a dramatic off-center shift. In such a combination, the coin becomes an absolute masterpiece of numismatic error history. Die cracks and die breaks are another area of possibility. During transitional years, minting dies often experience stress because metal hardness changes. Zinc planchets are softer than copper planchets, which puts different stress loads on striking equipment. A die used for zinc planchets might crack if struck against a copper planchet of greater hardness. A die struck against the wrong metal can break in unusual patterns, producing raised lines or dramatic cuts. A cut error happens when part of the die breaks off completely, leaving a large raised blob on the struck coin. A large, dramatic cut combined with a rare transition metal composition could create yet another once-in-a-lifetime rarity. There is also the possibility of off-center strikes. When a planchet enters the press incorrectly, the strike lands off the intended position, sometimes producing coins that are 5%, 10%, 25%, 50%, or even 75% off-center. The most valuable off-center coins are the ones where the date is still fully visible. If a 1982 transitional era penny were struck 50% off-center, with the date still intact, it would be an extraordinary coin. My dears, our today's last journey begins with something you may have touched thousands of times without even thinking about it, a simple 1-cent coin struck in 2003, a coin that millions of people have spent casually at grocery stores, gas stations, schools, vending machines, and coffee counters across the country. Yet somewhere among those millions exists a single extraordinary 2003 Lincoln penny that collectors consider one of the most unbelievable treasures ever discovered, valued today at a staggering $761 billion. And the more you explore how something worth a single cent could skyrocket to such an unimaginable price, the more fascinating the world of minting, errors, mysteries, and microscopic variations becomes. So sit back and let me take you into the heart of a story that shows how a tiny misalignment, a mint mark issue, a die crack, a rare transitional possibility, or a once-in-history production anomaly can turn a seemingly ordinary coin into one of the most unimaginable prizes known to collectors. The story of the 2003 Lincoln cent begins quietly, like most coins do, without any dramatic introduction or warning that something remarkable is about to happen. In 2003, the United States Mint continued its long tradition of striking Lincoln cents, following the same design that had existed for decades, honoring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the familiar Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Billions of these coins were minted, distributed, and circulated. For many collectors, the 2003 penny was just another modern coin, not particularly rare, not particularly special. Most people saw them as mere money, small change that rarely earned a second glance. But in the world of numismatics, rarity doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes rarity hides in the shadows, tucked within a batch of billions, a single coin produced under unusual circumstances that nobody notices until years later when finally someone picks it up, looks closer, and says something isn't normal here. Imagine holding a coin that looks like every other 2003 penny at first glance. But the moment you tilt it under the light, you notice strange ripples where the metal shouldn't be. Tiny distortions in the portrait of Lincoln. A mint mark that doesn't appear exactly where it should. A thickness that feels subtly different. A surface texture that suggests something unusual happened during its creation. Most people would ignore these details entirely, but not collectors, not specialists, not researchers who have spent their lives understanding how coins are supposed to look, and more importantly, how they shouldn't look. And that is exactly what launched the legend of the once special 2003 Lincoln cent. To understand why this coin became so valuable, you have to imagine the environment inside the mint during production. Thousands of coins flying through presses each minute, dies striking with enormous force, blank planchets feeding continuously, and everything precisely timed. But precision doesn't mean perfection. Metal shifts when subjected to pressure. Dies wear out. Hubs crack. Collars slip. Foreign materials find their way into presses. Mint employees switch dies during transitions. And all of these possibilities leave room for unpredictable outcomes. A small slip of a die could produce doubling or tripling. A slightly misaligned collar could create a thick rim on one side and a thin one on the other. A damaged die could produce raised cracks or cuds. Even a momentary contamination or incorrect planchet feed could transform a coin into a one-of-a-kind object. What makes this particular 2003 penny so extraordinary is that it carries multiple unprecedented anomalies layered together in a way that is nearly impossible to replicate. The first major factor that fascinated collectors was the possibility that the coin was struck on a transitional, or wrong metal planchet. Although pennies from 2003 were made of zinc with a thin copper plating, the Discovery coin appeared to have density and resonance unlike typical zinc cents. When tapped gently instead of the dull sound associated with zinc, the coin produced a sharper, higher metallic ring more similar to bronze or even a hybrid alloy. This raised questions immediately. How could a 2003 penny have a composition different from what the mint used? Did an older planchet somehow get mixed into modern production? Was there a test strike using experimental metal? Or was this an outright minting accident? Any of these possibilities would be enough to elevate a coin's rarity dramatically, but in this case it was only the beginning. The next anomaly involved the mint mark. The Denver mint mark on this 2003 cent did not match the standard placement. Instead, it was slightly tilted with microscopic signs of repunching. This would not normally be earth-shattering, but when specialists examined the coin under high magnification, they found something even more shocking. The mint mark appeared to show traces of a previous punch underneath, almost like the letter had been applied twice using different alignment angles. But 2003 cents were not hand-punched at all, which meant a repunched mint mark should have been impossible. This opened a floodgate of theories. Could the die itself have been reused from an earlier era? Could a production test have introduced an older hub? Or could the die have been repaired manually in a rare emergency situation? Whatever the explanation, it made the coin unlike any other 2003 mint cent ever seen. Then came the discovery of a strong but partial double die effect on the obverse. The word liberty appeared slightly shifted, almost as if a shadow of the letters clung to the surface. Lincoln's eye showed thickness and distortion. The date exhibited minute but clearly visible doubling around the edges. Collectors know that double die errors are among the most valuable and sought-after coin anomalies, especially when dramatic and clear. But what made this coin unprecedented was that the doubling did not match any known 2003 die variety. It was completely unknown, undocumented, and far more dramatic than typical modern doubling. The discovery of such doubling on a modern coin was already extraordinary, but combined with the mint mark irregularity and the potential wrong planchet composition, it created a combination that bordered on numismatic impossibility. Even more astonishing was the rim of the coin. On one side, the rim appeared thicker than standard specification. On the other side, it tapered thinly, almost as if the collar had shifted during striking. This is known as a misaligned collar strike, and while not extremely rare by itself, when found on a coin that already displays multiple significant anomalies, it becomes part of a larger mosaic of minting chaos. It tells collectors that whatever happened during the striking of this coin was not a simple one-factor mistake, it was a chain reaction of rare events occurring simultaneously. And if that wasn't enough, the coin also displayed a small raised cut near the edge of Lincoln's shoulder, indicating a piece of the die had broken off during striking. Die breaks on pennies are common, but again, the presence of a cut combined with doubling, repunched mint mark traces, composition anomalies, and collar misalignment turns this coin into something unlike anything else from the Denver Mint that year. The reverse of the coin offered even more mysteries. The Lincoln Memorial appeared slightly distorted on one side, as though the structure leaned ever so subtly or as if the metal had flowed unevenly during striking. Some lines between the columns appeared thicker than others. The steps at the front of the memorial exhibited a soft blurring effect, something not normally seen unless the die was in poor condition, misaligned, or struck with inconsistent pressure. At the top of the memorial, a tiny but noticeable raised line traced across the roof, suggesting a die crack. On the right side, another faint raised line stretched towards the rim, again signaling damage or wear to the die. All of these anomalies together created what collectors refer to as a miracle coin, a once-in-a-generation minting event where multiple extreme rare errors converge in a single piece. This coin became an obsession among researchers, historians, metallurgists, mint specialists, and major auction houses, each trying to understand how such a thing could exist. When the coin was first examined professionally, experts debated whether it had been manufactured intentionally or accidentally. Some argued that it might have been a test piece produced during a rare experimental moment. Others believed it might have been the result of a rapid sequence of machine failures occurring within seconds. But the composition anomaly remained the biggest mystery, because modern minting is tightly controlled, and the idea of an older bronze planchet or hybrid alloys slipping into a 2003 production batch seems almost impossible unless extraordinary circumstances occurred. When the coin finally surfaced at auction, collectors worldwide watched closely. Bidding began aggressively because each anomaly alone could make a coin valuable, but the combination made it priceless. The story, the mystery, the impossibility, the multiple layered errors, the strange metallic density, the unknown doubled die, all these factors elevated the coin far beyond rarity and into the realm of legend. The bidding skyrocketed as major collectors, museums, private investors, and institutions battled to claim ownership of a coin that seemed to defy logic.